Nerdcube.
Zolas. Deepfinesse. Logus. Peace and go on. Get ready for Terra Mystica's Tuesday League.
All right, hey everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome, to the Terra Mystica Tuesday League, week 4. I'm Eric, or Nerdcube, here with DanyB, or
Danny.
DanyB.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. It's easy.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Yeah, pumped for this matchup. Pumped for not having any stress of playing in a game this week.
Right.
Although I'm kind of wishing I was playing this week. It's base map, no landscapes.
It has the old charm, you know. It's the classic charm. It's the vanilla flavor. I enjoy it. I really enjoy that format. But yeah.
We did last week. We did the lakes and landscapes, and I mean that's fun, but I certainly don't know that as well.
That's true.
Yeah, so our matchup this week, we've got Bisco, Azores, Deepfinesse, Logus playing. Deepfinesse with kind of a commanding lead, once again on the Premier League. He's already had his bye, and he's sitting at 10.5 points. So he got a first place and a tied for first place in his 2 games he's played so far. So
it's a pretty good return, right? It's pretty good stats, I think.
Yeah,
not too shabby.
So I feel like the rest of the table must be watching this. Like, if Deepfinesse gets a solid finish here today, probably if he gets a second or a first or tied for one of those places, I think he's all but clinched, right? It's going to be hard to catch up for anyone else.
Yeah, the deal's going to be sealed, maybe, pretty much. Yeah, because he'll be at like 13, 14 to 16 points, which is it's going to be hard to catch for one of these players, including you, I guess.
Yeah,
because you're second. You're in second place right now at 7 points, so you're not too far away. You just
I got my bye this week though, so these players are going to catch up.
Yeah.
True. So yeah, we got Zoras and Logus right behind. So if either of them take the win today, right? If Zoras gets a win and Deepfinesse gets a third, let's say, all right, Zoras is right up there in the lead. So yeah, pretty much a lot's on the table this week. A lot of the standings are still up in the air and can shift around. After this week, they'll be a bit more locked in, but this is a really pivotal game for a lot of these players. Let me see Bisigoa trying to get his first, points of the tournament. So I'm rooting for that too. He's a great player and has just gotten a bit unlucky so far. And
to
so
be
maybe
fair,
we'll see him take a win.
Yeah, to be fair, he's in Europe. I think he's the only player in Europe, so maybe that can play a little into it as well. So
yeah, he's got a huge time zone disadvantage for sure.
Mm.
We were just joking before this, wondering if he was taking a quick nap, while he was waiting for the game to start.
Recharge these batteries. Yeah, definitely. All right, looks like we're all into the game. So yeah, do you want to talk to us a bit about what you will be able to see in a few seconds?
Yeah. So let's see, what do we got here? Yeah. Let me pull up this game myself. So we've got trading post, town, temple, trading post, stronghold, dwelling. Nothing immediately jumps off the board. I'll be honest.
It's like lots of spades on the cult. So I think that's the first thing and no spades on the bonus tile. So maybe people should take advantage of these cult spades. That's one thing that I can see.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The temple round 3 I think is interesting. I feel like there's like a couple different lines, a couple different ways that can come into play. Either, I think there's some factions like Giants, for example, right? That could just wait till round 3 to build their first temple, and then just try to play a super economic game, right? There's Giants sometimes Giants can get a town in round 2, right? So you can build a stronghold in round 1, build a town in round 2, temple up for water 1 in round 3, build some trading posts in round 4, finish off with a bunch of dwellings. Something like that could definitely be a reasonable path. But then there's also kind of the path of, with temples round 1, maybe you open, I don't know, dare I say it, double temple. You get a whole bunch of priests early. There's a priest bonus tile in the game. There's a priest power action, right? You just try to get a bunch of priests early, dump them to those cults to get those spades, and then a whole bunch of coins and flex in round 3. So I think that's another option there, is maybe you want to have built a couple temples already before then.
True. I can definitely see the line for giants too as well. I think I think that's a pretty good plan. And here we have Oren, which I think
Classic.
which are picked in the I mean, no, it's DF, but I think that goes pretty hand in hand with maybe a stronghold start and a temple round 3. Like all of these factions that start usually by a stronghold will most likely be able to build a temple in round 3. So maybe that's a line that he's angling for with Oren here. So and they start in air, so maybe you can get a cheeky priest to air and get a spade that way, or with air 2 and your stronghold 2 cult action. So there's a lot of ways for Orin to benefit, I think, from that first round and from these air spades. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
think we see the bonus tiles. There's kind of 3 bonus tiles that often go really early, right? The priest, the worker power, and the temp shipping are often some of the most picked ones. But that would potentially, if those are picked in the first, by the last 3 seats, that would leave Orin with 4 coins and a cult step, which would be perfect
Yeah,
for what you're talking about,
exactly.
right? You use your stronghold, you use your cult step, and you're getting a free air spade.
And then maybe you can. I'm pretty sure you can get to 8 also, perhaps, if you are able to send a priest for a 3 spot, and if you like take air 2. So maybe that's also an option given on the colors. But here we see nomads again. So a nomads is also in the same line that we were speaking about, factions that open stronghold and kind of maybe that can open stronghold and get a temple round 3. So maybe that's what the table's thinking, but could be also just a regular temple open for nomads.
Yeah, I think I like just a pretty regular temple open for nomads. Being able to get a priest, income for the second round to send a priest to Earth and then get a spade and then a couple coins from it, like feels really good. Like I would be very
Yeah,
happy as nomads to have that priest income.
we'll see on the 2 remaining factions, but maybe temp ship falls to nomads and double dig, and we get to see the super spicy and sweet temp TP for dwellings while digging G2 and B2 with double dig and temp ship.
Yeah,
So
or
maybe
maybe
that's also
even
an option.
even spicier. In the second seat, the trading post tile.
Ooh.
Could we see a trading post opening from
Oh,
nomads here?
and it's Zoras who put them in, and we all know that Zoras is a high advocate of that
Yeah,
TP opening.
the
So
Deepfinesse has already done that. Deepfinesse did it a few weeks ago in the Premier League here.
right. So yeah, maybe that's. Oh,
And I feel
I
like
would
that
like.
could line up pretty well. Like I'm no trading post nomads expert, but I feel like it's like, you build a few trading posts in the first round, you hope to like get some digs in the second round to like build out your worker economy a little bit, and then you're ready to like maybe build 2 temples, like an earth one and an air one or something.
Yeah,
And that lines up with the track pretty reasonably.
and depending on like the colors and everything, I think sometimes I might be wrong, but you tend to get maybe more leech out of that if you build a lot of trading posts, because you'll most likely be leeching at 2 different spots on the map, especially if blue is in the map in the game. So maybe
Yeah.
you can leech from the center one with and we see mermaids, I think, being picked. So mermaids just go so well with nomads, and I think this is kind of your standard color wheel for like this edition of the Premier League, right? There's always been yellow. Well, not always, but like I think the first 2 games were like yellow, blue, and green, and the other one was brown, perhaps. I think
Yeah,
the
that
color.
sounds right.
So I guess we're just missing brown to go back into that same pattern.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, like, because we have seen so many of these, like, you know, specifically it's like mermaids a lot, like mermaids
Mhm.
and one of the green factions, and I'll be curious to
Yeah.
see like that seems to be popular, like both in the Premier League, and I just see it a lot in arena and stuff. Like, people love like picking, mermaids into green and vice versa. I'll be
Mhm.
curious to see if we'll like see any innovation on that soon. I've just been, it's one of those things that's been like churning around up there. It's like it feels like the starting locations are always the default on this map, right? Like green
Right.
starts on C4, you just have to, and it kind of feels
Mhm.
like a little bit bad for both green and mermaids, right? Like they're just both a little bit unhappy. It's like I've got to do this to block you, and I'm gonna do it, but you're gonna hope
Right.
that I don't. And so like I do wonder if we'll see any like, I don't know, like double west mermaids, right? Like when nomads are in the game, like maybe as mermaids you can go D2 and E4 and just fully commit to the west and let green have the east. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's room for that matchup to evolve.
Now I wonder with giants in the game, right? As we mentioned, it was a good pick. Like we thought it was a decent pick, and I'm happy to see it because it's gonna shake things up a bit. Like the center is not as safe anymore. Especially with mermaids, if you start on d5, then you have to dig c3 presumably because green will be on c4, and so maybe giants. There's a lot of tension, I think, with that giants pick going on in the center, and I think maybe nomads are kind of the best at staying out of that conundrum, out of that situation, maybe. So I think I like nomads here just off of that initial observation.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like this is a pretty good nomads game in a lot of ways. So there's lots of good ways to score on the track. We talked about like the trading post opening, some temples in round 3, but even just like round 4 trading posts, I think nomads are pretty dang happy with, and round 6 dwellings, right? Like they play economically. They want to get those trading posts out in the mid game, so I like that for them. I think they're going to get a good bonus tile, like temp shipping. I think could even be pretty sweet here for them. They just want to play a pretty standard, like temple or dwelling opening is pretty achievable for them with that. There's 3 scoring bonus tiles on the past tiles, right? As an economic faction, they tend to love that. So yeah, I think there's a lot to love here about nomads. Giants don't usually get in their way too much, like.
Yeah, I think nomads also might be the only ones, if they do go that TP opening route, I think they might be able to score a bit off that trading post tile, which I think nobody will want until round 4. So that might be a trick in their bag that they have that is kind of exclusive to their situation. So that might be an option too.
Yeah.
I think mermaids too are the second best, and we see that in the beginning because I feel mermaids when nomads are in the game, it's just such a harmonious relationship. Like you get plenty of leech, and that, and I think maybe nomads open stronghold here. Maybe I don't think so though. So I don't think you need to be too scared about your natural blues being sandblasted away. So I think that makes sense. And just Logus goes straight to 20 in Logus fashion.
He said in game chat right before this that he was in a meeting, but he was going to get started anyway. So I wonder if he's like still in his meeting, just like, yeah, this is probably fine. Like mermaids to 20. Like Orin and Giants aren't going for a while. Like I'll deal with this later.
Yeah. Who's the? Well, I was gonna ask who's the 30 faction, but as we've seen before, there can be more than one 30 faction in this in this Tuesday League season. But who would you pick more here, Giants or Orin?
I think it's got to be Orin. I mean, they have this like, they can maybe do some good stuff with their opening. I do think it is a big advantage that the cults might be pretty wide open. There's no other specifically cult faction, but I do think like my prediction what's going to happen on the cults is I think mermaids probably are just going to try to take water cult, and nomads might try to take earth cult, right? So you're going to have this thing of like, Orin will do well in the cults, but if nomads and mermaids just kind of like divvy them up, and maybe giants try to take air or something, or fire or whatever, right? There's no fire reward, so giants could maybe just
sneak up on that
fire and get 8 points.
Exactly.
So I think there's a chance that Orin don't even have like an utterly dominant cult game if the other players kind of divvy up the cults, right? And there's just a lot that can go wrong, like with mermaids in the game, with giants in the game, that like there's definitely a lot that can go wrong for Orin.
Especially in that color, what is really lacking for Orin in that color wheel is a neighbor in the west. So eventually they would like to get down there and form a town and build some trading posts. And you look at that trading post round in round 4. I mean, you won't be able to really exploit that super hard if you don't have enough neighbors. Granted that giants, can come through the north, maybe on b5, a9, and maybe find a neighbor with Orin on the c4 line, but it's still pretty risky, I think, when you don't have like either black or brown as green here, probably.
Yeah, I do. Like that is going to kind of be this catch-22 for Orin in this game. Is like they're going to want to be on c4 to block mermaids, right? That's just the traditional thing. Is like you go on c4 to block mermaids. But yeah, like you said, that you don't start with a neighbor there, and then if giants are starting on d7, let's say, maybe giants want you on d9, and maybe they don't, or maybe they're okay just like blocking you and
exactly,
removing one of your easy town spots. So Yeah, I
But
think it's tricky for them.
I guess the good thing with Oren here is that they can just place their first dwelling on f4, and then maybe if Giants go d7, then that might be an invitation for Oren to forego c4 and go on e9 instead. Which I don't know if it makes sense to accept given the situation of not having a lot of neighbors. And I think if Giants start on d7, they're most likely not going to be able to cut you off on the gray hex that you need to go down. You'll be able to dig that, I think, quicker than Giants. So you mentioned earlier, are we going to see some more permutations of this green and blue matchup on this map, on base map? Well, maybe with Giants in the game and then placing both of their dwellings after Oren, maybe that will happen. Perhaps it will. So
Yeah, that's another kind of thing to deliberate as Giants too is starting G2, I think, right? If you're thinking in your head, if you're like, I don't, if Oren are going to start C4, then
yeah,
kind of as Giants, like, what's the point of starting D7? Like, obviously, like, it
right.
can still be good, but like, maybe you're like, okay, maybe I just don't want to get to D7 yet. There's no reason to be there. I'm not going to have a neighbor there for a while. So maybe I just start G2 and try to be more disruptive in the center to nomads and get some extra leech from Oren and hope to get E7 and get over there into the east eventually.
Yeah, well, I guess Giants get Tempship probably I don't really see another better option. Worker power is always fine, I guess, but if Tempship is pretty good when you start on G2 because you can just go down to I5, and I guess nobody really wants the workers unless they're opening double temple, right? Which, as we established, is always a strong possibility.
Always a threat.
Always a threat, exactly. Yeah, but it's interesting because that tempo round 3 you were mentioning earlier, I feel that, the closer it is on the track in terms of round orders, the better it is for the points, and the farther it is, like in round 4 or 5, the better it is for like the economic boost of the 2 coins. So when it's like right in the middle in round 3, you can kind of I think the points and the economy are kind of worth, well, maybe not all the same, but it's quite closer, I think. Like, is it worth it to get the 4 points, but forego maybe 2 or 4 coins because you don't send as much priests by not having the second temple early? So I think that's an interesting dynamic also with that conjunction of economy and points per building, which is pretty great.
So we see the current bids here. Bisco has already jumped to Oren, who I was guessing was the 30 faction. But I mean, I think it's pretty defensible. I think between Oren and Giants, like it's close, right? Like Giants don't have this amazing opening. There's no stronghold tile in the game. The cults aren't particularly good for them, right? Like Giants, much prefer to have workers on the early cults than spades.
Yeah.
So that's not great. So like there's definitely a lot not going for Giants, but
the track is going. The track is pretty good, although for Giants, I think that's the main point. But yeah, I think somebody agrees with me that the track was pretty good for Giants. It's Logus.
Yeah. Okay. Right? I think so. We were saying we thought nomads were the best. I think nomads got a steal here. That's my call. Is that everyone keeps letting Deepfinesse get away with it?
God damn. I mean, I guess he has some kind of aura maybe around him. Like he has some presence that forces people to give him stuff, and he gets away with it. Maybe I don't know, but
yeah,
I think Nomads.
We gotta stop falling for it.
Yeah, Nomads for 22. I mean, I'm a big Nomads fan. I mean, I really like Nomads. So I might be a little biased by that, but I'm pretty sure I'm with you there. 22 for Nomads in that setup is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying with mermaids in the game. Yeah,
and
I think
crazy.
And I think Nomads can play like a sneaky culty game, right? Like, I think they're going to be able to win Earth, because I just don't know that anyone else is going to have their early if they just take a priest action in the first round or something, or just send their priest to Earth. Like, I think they're going to be able to play good on Earth. They're going to be able to get enough early priests, I think, to like make this round 3 event. Like, I think they're going to be able to do both. What you were saying, right? They're going to both be able to like build a second temple in round 3.
Right.
And get the 4 points out of it, and have probably sent 2 or 3 priests to cults already.
Get that Sweetwater one probably for that round 4 TP, which is which is pretty a natural way of thinking about the track. You know, temple before a trading post round and a temple round 3. So maybe you could open an econ favor and try to leverage that even more.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a bunch of points from that water one in round 3 in this game probably. So yeah, that might be pretty. Nomads also probably have always like an inherent edge on network, since you know they start with 3 dwellings, and I don't see much of their hexes being disrupted. With giants, you know, it might be tricky, especially if they start on G2. So I think that's one thing that can go a bit wrong for nomads. I mean, wrong is a big word, but yeah, that center town for nomads looks kind of compromised. But maybe, but you know, they can get by without it. I think this game.
They're just going to get so much leech out in the west from mermaids. I think they've got a lot of, like, one thing I like about nomads too is just how many different game plans they have, right? Like if they get the double spade early, great. Like, you know, they're rolling. Like if they take an econ favor early, they can find a way to use that later. If they don't get lots of spades early, I've done some really cool like shipping games, right? The shipping tiles in the game here, and you know, it seems to be a good advantage to like build lots of temples early so they can just use those priests and get to 3 shipping. And 3 shipping nomads on this map don't need a ton of spades to be effective.
Don't need a lot of clowns as well to be effective.
Yeah. So I feel like nomads just have a lot of backup plans here. They're going to have a lot of neighbors everywhere. They're going to be getting lots of leech.
And, you know, they're piloted by DF. Exactly, and it's Deepfinesse playing them. So we know that, you know, all of these different plans and these decisions are going to be made with a pretty damn mind, pretty damn great mind behind that. So yeah. And Zoras has 14 with mermaids, and he won his first game, right, with mermaids. So you know, we know he can play the heck out of him. And yeah, so I think he got an okay-ish deal as well, but I think he paid a bit too much for mermaids. That's my initial dwellings round 6 with mermaids, especially with giants in green in the map. You don't really get that many like open blue hexes, so it's kind of hard to exploit that. So the late game for mermaids looks kind of iffy unless they can, you know, really smash the ship VP tile pretty hard.
Yeah, which is a good backup plan, right? That's what I was just gonna say. I mean, with the ship VP and the dwelling scoring, so like it's hard for mermaids to do bad here. But yeah, I do agree that like I'd say 14 points probably seems like close to fair, right? I don't think they got a deal, but I don't think it's like unfair. You know, it's like they paid about what they were supposed to. They're really good here. And I expected nomads to just be closer to that. I expected nomads and mermaids to both be around that 15 point range. And then
Giant started on G2, right?
Did, yeah. And the more I look at it, the less I think I like it. Because of this exactly. So yeah, nomads go E8, which to me says nomads are going to open with the trading post opening, right? I think Deepfinesse went in exactly these positions when he opened trading post opening last time.
I think that's a standard approach that's a standard placement, right? You get your guaranteed 3 neighbors, and maybe you can sneak in a single dig somewhere, which would be pretty great. Yeah, I think now the west seems kind of closed off to giants now, which in turn means that, you know, this affects Oren as well, because now Oren the easiest neighbor in the west for Oren would have been giants. Now I don't really think no one's coming there, right? No, I mean nomads might build a dwelling on like G4 or something, but there's very little probability that, you know, nomads actually develop there. So yeah, Oren and giants here are kind of victims of each other's moves and placements, I think, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, I was starting to say that I liked giants here. Like I thought they got a decent deal, you know, because I would have rather had them than Oren, I think. But with these starting placements, yeah, I feel like both of them kind of come out a little worse. Giants are just, they're not going to be able to expand this game, and what was going to maybe be like a pretty good network game for them, or you know, like
the very least,
a decent network game, and trying to play this like very economic game, right? Like I was saying, like wait to round 3 to build your temple, and then build a ton of trading posts, hit the pass tiles really hard. Now I don't know how they're going to expand if C3 gets taken by mermaids, and an E7 gets taken by Orin, like they're just cut off from the west or from the east entirely.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about, well, I was talking about how great of a track it seems for Giants, but I do feel that now Giants kind of have to choose between being able to connect or like hitting that round 2 town, because it's kind of hard with these positions, because usually you need like a 2 natural red hex town, which now leaves like C3, I6, and A9 as an option, or like C3, but now C3 is gone just right away, which isn't really surprising, I think. So yeah, I don't think Giants is hitting any of these track points that we were kind of hoping they could have had. So yeah, that's the thing that they had going for them, and now it's kind of gone. So
yeah. I want to point out something else crazy that I didn't even notice. So when we were talking about the bonus tiles, right? Remember how we were saying the priest is one of those ones that people were going to fight over in the first round?
yeah,
Everyone passed on the priest.
Which is, yeah, it kind of seems crazy to me.
Well,
I guess
Nomads.
Nomads.
Like Orin were supposed to take a priest, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Nomads, as you mentioned, they go for the TP opening, and they were able to snag that single dig, as I've mentioned earlier. So that's pretty great for them. So I guess this is one of the past tiles that we didn't initially expect, because we didn't know Nomads were in the game. But yeah, I feel that priest should have been taken here. Definitely.
Like Orin
yeah.
had the ability, like 4 coins and a cult step versus a priest, which is gonna turn into 2 coins later, and 2 extra cult steps, and
some
maybe
more power.
Some more power. Like that feels like that priest was gonna be so valuable, and that was gonna be Orin's way back into this game. Like if Orin got the priest, I would actually like be kind of liking their game a lot, right? Like so like that's the difference between like a whole early priest, right, is like the ability to, like, that's maybe like a whole extra spade from one of these early cult rewards, and 2 more coins in round 3, and potentially helping you to get 4 more points like at the end of the game. It like just helps. It's a big help in winning 1 more cult.
Exactly.
And
Although I guess the cult, I guess that signals to me, if he still wants a spade, that he's gonna go for air 2. I guess whatever, if he opens temple, probably air 2 into the cult bomb. But it's not exactly clear, where he puts his spade. I guess is if E9 isn't taken this round, which I think Giants probably will take E9, E7, sorry, the center gray. So I guess he has to dig B5. That's, or maybe he bridges to G3 and digs the
well, he did
H4.
take a priest power action, so it looks like Bisco is planning to advance shipping, would be my guess, and then use that spade on C5.
Yeah, that's a good option as well. So maybe, but it seems wrong, because why not take the priest and take the 7 coins action if you wanna?
You just take the priest bonus tile, take the priest power action, send the first priest to air.
Mm-hmm.
You still get
enough leech, I think, to get the 7 coins maybe in that game. So yeah, but who knows? Maybe he wants a bridge as well. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with Orin. But we see an air 2. I think that was kind of predictable, if I can say. And oh man, look at Nomads getting all that leech from C1, Mermaids coming to C1 and D2, and
they got to take this double dig on E6 with their first action, which meant they leached extra from Giants and leached extra from Orin. Like I love this Nomads position.
Yeah, definitely.
Chat was asking like who else is doing well besides Nomads, and I'm in love with Nomads game. I can't stop talking about anything but Nomads here. Like I think this is brilliant.
Yeah,
like,
when you have like when you fall in love and there's no one else in your sights but that person, that's how we feel about Nomads here. Yeah.
Yep. And there was this series too, like this other thing that helped Nomads quite a bit is, so we were talking about the possibility of Giants being on temp shipping, right, to get an extra dwelling out in the first round, and that would have meant Mermaids probably end up on worker power, but because Giants took worker power and Mermaids got temp shipping, that's letting Nomads up to C1 and giving Nomads, or that's letting Mermaids up to C1 and giving Nomads this extra leech. So that's like an extra like plus in the Nomads book of like, they weren't necessarily going to get this much leech. They could have gotten quite a bit less leech this round if the bonus tiles had played out differently. Like, nothing to do with their decision, just that's what Giants and Mermaids both chose.
I'm kind of surprised though that the single dig went to the center for nomads. I would have thought that maybe he would dig e3 so he could double dig next round two like easy hexes for him. But I guess he got a lot of more reach from digging the center as nomads here from digging e6.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't dig the center, he probably doesn't get the leech to take the double dig anyways.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I think that makes sense.
yeah.
And there's a
I think
sneaky
he'll be
threat.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
go
think
ahead.
I was gonna say that, whenever I've done it once, I think, with nomads, but you can actually dig that gray hex in the center and get a center town across. It's never gonna happen here, obviously, because I'm pretty sure giants will dig that, but it is so nice when it happens. And but yeah, that's not gonna it would be great for a round 2 town, but yeah, that's not happening here. Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I've done that before. Like if you open with like stronghold and
Mhm.
and like but you take the worker's action and start with a spade or something, like it can be sneaky. That
Yeah,
like that people forget that, like, because it never
it
happens.
happens.
I
Yeah,
think you
right.
like forget that that's a town option, but
Mhm.
yeah.
But yeah, as we see, giants go on e7, and here, well, nomads can still salvage that center town if mermaids don't really act on e5, which I think they should. But as mermaids, you have a lot more. You have some other digs, and that town on f4, f2, and e4 isn't really. You don't really need e5. But if the trend is letting Deepfinesse having things, if Deepfinesse gets away with like an easy center town here, he's he's in darn good shape.
Yeah, I mean the reason I don't think that's gonna happen is just because when you open with a trading post opening as nomads, it's like it's just gonna be so long before he has enough workers and extra
Right.
space to start thinking about like doing
Yeah.
a double dig.
Hmm.
But yeah, like if mermaids just mermaids are getting like this great economic opening. It looks like they're doing like a trading posts dwelling rush thing here. So I think mermaids are gonna have enough uh, resources that like I think that a5 hex is gonna go if for no other reason than
Hmm.
like I can't leave it there for nomads to have
No,
forever.
exactly. Yeah. So at least
And
giants.
even
Yeah.
giants like might do it just to give them a little bit easier access over to E3 or something.
Hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't think that hex is gonna stay open long enough.
Yeah. So at the very least, giants actually have access to e7, which might have not been the case. So they have their connection. At least both of their structures are linked, and they have some path to the west, to the east. Sorry, but it's 3 ships, and that's a really long time away. That's far away when you don't have any priests income. So
Yeah,
it's
like because this is part of the problem too, right? With these starting locations, is we talked about this idea of like if giants were going to hold off till round 3 for building a temple, but part of that, so like two things. One, if you're going to hold off till round 3 for building a temple, then like your round 2 needs to be about building lots of dwellings, right? And
right.
the way you do that is you start over on D7 and you have access to quite a few red hexes.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is like, well, now that you need 3 shipping to get to most of your to get over to a bunch more red hexes, like
Yeah,
delaying that temple to round 3 feels even worse because you just need to start getting more priests.
exactly.
Um, so like
That's it.
this feels like a rough situation for Logus.
I guess uh, if Logus had fallen on tempship this game, this round, sorry, which wasn't the case, maybe digging G1 and opening up like these two natural reds would have been conducive to that plan you just mentioned. But he's on the dwelling scoring tile, so but with no really tangible possibilities of really using that. Maybe he can put down a bridge to and 2 dwellings, something like that. So that's a way that he can go with it. So yeah, I'm not entirely confident or sure about Giant's position here.
Yeah, if he could get over to E3, that'd be great. And I think like maybe even just taking a priest and advancing his shipping this round would be nice, just because he is going to need to start the train rolling on getting that shipping.
Yeah,
But I think Deepfinesse is going to be taking E3 this round, right? He's got enough power to spade, and that's his only spot
yeah.
to spade besides E5. Maybe Deepfinesse takes E5 right now,
Hmm.
but I'd expect E3 to be gone.
Yeah.
Um,
And Bisegoa did what you mentioned he would do, which is I think he upgraded his ships and built on G3, but he didn't spade C4 C5 like we expected. He chose H4, I think. I think that stems from him trying to secure his town because giants might be interested in disrupting him. Maybe that was the thought process.
Yeah,
behind
that makes a
decision.
good bit of sense. This is like 1 hex less, right? G5 gives him access to 2 more, or C5 gives him access to 2 more green hexes. This only gives him
Yeah,
access to 1 more at I6, but it's 2 hexes that would probably about to be contested by Logus.
like yeah, definitely. And I think C5, is gonna chill there for a while. I think nobody's gonna be really into C5 this game except Oren. So that's kind of a safe assumption that it'll still be there when they need to go for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. That makes sense.
And we did see Deepfinesse take the priest with his first action, which I like a lot. So he had a decent bit of power. He was sitting at 8 power in bowl 3, which meant that he could have double spaded. But I think I like this line better. I think his read is that he might get the single spade like to come around to him, and so if he gets to both like send a couple priests to cults and then also gets the single spade later, and then he kind of blocks Logus from the spade action or the priest action that I think Logus wanted to advance shipping. Like I think that's pretty
Or
clever all around from Deepfinesse.
or maybe he's hoping to wield a double dig. I don't know if I can't really see exactly who's at what power, but upgrading ships and double digging like B2 and E3 might be a pretty good option as well.
Yeah,
For
that's
him.
true. If you can get this
So
priest to Earth and then also double dig, like
right, but that's a lot of actions. You need to send the priest to Earth, you need to upgrade ships, and then you need to double dig. So maybe it's not really possible. But at the very least, having 2 priests when you didn't open with any temples preceding a round that gives you coins for having priests to cults is pretty damn good. So
yeah.
uh, so that's a good sequence there for Deepfinesse. But are we surprised? I don't think so.
Yep. We do see Logus
Uh,
5 power priests, which is pretty interesting. So he did want the priest badly enough to 5 power, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like I was saying, like if you
it's
gotta rush, if you're trying to get to
yeah.
this D6 hex as quickly as possible, you need to start getting that shipping going.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's
And
like an extra dig.
it also now gives him some tempo, and like he can take I6 now before Bisagoa, right? Bisagoa seemed like wanted to get to I6, before
Given the
Logan.
H4. Yeah, given the H4 play, definitely.
Yeah, so I think
Uh,
Bisagoa's read was like, oh, he takes the priest, I build H4. He ends the shipping, I build
I built
I6. All
I5.
safe.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, now he's going to get beat to I6 if Logus wants, or if Logus wants to dig G1, it's going to disrupt his town, right? Because Bisagoa can now take I6, and Logus probably won't get a town off of G2. But it could give him an extra red hex early, and he's got exactly 3 workers to build. So I think that could be interesting. It's pretty
so it's always that
by Deepfinesse, right?
I feel I feel like with Giants there's always this kind of dilemma with like expanding early on and reaching these isolated red hexes, or like trying to set up your towns and then try to go for 3 towns. So like given the way that this game is kind of occurring for Giants, I don't really think that's a 3-town game for them. I think it's just there's too many accesses or easy town spots that are cut off, and we see that Logus chooses the town securing option, which makes sense.
Yep.
I think it's pretty reasonable. And the
Yeah.
one player we haven't mentioned in this round is Mermaids up until now. So what are Mermaids up to here? Do they build a temple even though it gives 4 points next round, or do they greed out and just place more dwellings and then temple for water one? Do they temple for earth one right now? And there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options for Mermaids here, and I'm not sure which
don't
one.
know.
Yeah.
I think a temple for Earth 1 would actually be pretty reasonable. Like they have the A4 hex that they can build on right now. So like building the temple now like would give them 2 points, right?
Yeah.
So they're not losing the full 4 points.
Exactly.
A temple for water 1 is also tempting too. Like they could temple for water 1, build a trading post to get ready for next round.
Right.
And build A4 still.
And then temple for earth one, maybe the following round, which would net them 1 more point, I think. So but you risk, earth one I think is a bit more, well, maybe in that game, well, yeah, I think nomads will want earth one eventually, since given the TP opening. I don't think
it doesn't seem to be that contested. Like
no, and I don't really sorry, I just don't think Oren are in the position to really build a second temple here. Like given their lack of neighbors, and maybe they dish out an expensive sanctuary, but that really doesn't seem worth it. honestly. Unless you want to go for like an early-ish town, which comes back to another problem I think with Oren have is they don't have an early town, right? I don't see them really getting a priority on the two key town, which you mentioned earlier about Oren not necessarily having a super dominant cult game, and maybe that's one of the other reasons that can play into that.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone else particularly wants the two key town. Like Giants probably don't want it. Nomads are also kind of far away from a town. But
Mhm.
I guess mermaids, like,
Yeah.
if mermaids get to forming a town in round 4, and that town gives, the two key town gives them an extra spade and a worker and a bunch of power and a few more cult points than they were otherwise going to get, like that could definitely be
Mhm.
the sort of thing that's worth it for mermaids.
And mermaids ended up taking Earth 1, I think, here with that temple. So yeah, that was one option we expected from them. Although maybe Water 1 was maybe 1 point better, if we assume that Zoras is building A4 in a trading post this round. Uh, but I think it's still pretty good to have that Earth 1 locked in.
Yeah, Zoras has before also advocated when Deepfinesse did this trading post opening, a few Premier League games ago. Zoras advocated. He said like, when Nomad's trading post open, the way to beat them is you have to stop them from getting Earth 1. Um, like
Right.
if they can trading post open, build up their economy in round 2, and then take Earth 1 at their leisure in round 3, it's pretty
Mhm.
unstoppable. And so
Yeah.
I think Zoras is maybe doing his part here, right?
Yep.
He, he asked me before the game when we were setting up the cast. He said like, "How do I beat Deepfinesse? Like, you got any tips?" And I was like, "Don't stop letting them get away with stuff." And Zoras is doing his part.
Right. I like my solution of bribing him with a new printer or like some printer accessories, but
Yeah, yeah.
maybe that's too dishonorable. So maybe that's for extreme situations. Maybe if he's still in the lead for season 3, maybe we'll start thinking about some printer plays here. But we're not there yet, I think.
I just really want, if Deepfinesse ever starts streaming, instead of like text to speech, we need like text to printer. Like if you donate or whatever to Deepfinesse, like it prints out a message on his printer and he has to hold it up on stream. Like that's my dream for his printer.
Yep. Printess, deep printess, I think someone named it. I think it was Super who coined that term. But yeah, so Giants get down their 2 dwellings. Uh, and well, Deepfinesse, I think, will do the double dig line, maybe. He sent 1 priest to Earth. I think he's upgrading ships, maybe. He did upgrade ships with the other one. And it looks like double dig is open.
He's power
But
short though, right?
oh, he is. He's at 5. Yeah, and I think maybe, yeah, he needs to find 1 power, which might not happen, actually, sadly. But I guess he
Yeah,
can still, take single dig and dig B2 and place 2 dwellings this round, which is still pretty good.
yeah. And
Even
then he gets
even
the
though,
cult spade that he can use
Mhm,
on E3 to kind of defend that from Giants doing anything.
yeah, which kind of helps. So Giants didn't end up threatening E3 by digging G1. They secured their town spot instead. So that gives Deepfinesse all the leisure that he needs to focus that single dig on B2 and expanding more, rather than securing a hex at the cost of losing an extra dwelling income. So
Yep.
we'll see if that's what he goes for. But I'm thinking that is, yeah,
Yeah.
setting
So
up,
I mean,
yeah,
this looks
it's good.
great. Like, I mean, the other thing that can go wrong for a Nomad's trading post opening, right, is that you just never get your worker economy going, right? If you
Mhm.
expand too much up in the first round and then you just never get your worker economy going, it can kind of snowball awkwardly for you. But the fact
Yeah,
that Deepfinesse was able to get that spade in the first round, right? So he got that spade. So now he had 1 more worker going into round 2, and then he was able
yeah,
to spend both of those,
right.
uh, workers like that. So he had 2 workers at the start of this round, and he's now able to like put himself in a position where he can spend both of those workers to build dwellings, which like that's a
Mhm.
really positive snowball, right? To be able to get all those trading posts out early and then also spend all of your workers every round. Um,
And
he's going to be in great
also
shape.
and also get a priest and somehow manage to get that priest in the most meaningful spot ever, which is the 3 spot in Earth. Because none of these
Yeah.
players that had priests, like Giants didn't have any priests, and Mermaids didn't because they opened TP and 4 dwellings. And Oren upgraded their ships with all of these priests because they need to expand. So,
Hey, wait, the guy that didn't build a temple, the guy that hasn't built a temple yet, is the only one
right.
with a priest to a cult.
Exactly. You know,
That's nuts.
giants. It was expected because giants are giants, and they didn't really. An early priest for giants is always going to ship, especially when there's no workers on the track. Uh, but yeah, so that's just like an icing on the cake, Uh, so
Yeah, and now Deepfinesse is guaranteed Earth 1 if he wants it here, and I think he should still want it.
mhm, I'm pretty
Like I
sure
think
too.
I
Yeah.
think Earth 1 and Air 1, or even just Water 1 still are pretty valid for him here.
He gets to pass again on the TP tile, which is at least 4 points, at the very least. Which is what we mentioned also. The TP opening grants you that extra scoring path that isn't contested, which has a lot of value in a game like Terra Mystica. When you have something that is your, nobody is gonna forbid you from taking that TP pass because it's just so bad for everyone else. And yeah.
Yeah, so I think Deepfinesse is cruising here. You know, he's well above Zorus in points, who was the other one who we said, like Mermaids had a strong game plan. And Zorus still does have a strong game going, but yeah, I think Deepfinesse is cruising here.
Yep. And he's already setting up that northern town, taking away a hex from giants.
Yeah, he chose to prioritize A6 over E3, which makes enough sense, I think. I mean, both were contested by giants, and Deepfinesse, wanted both of them to make towns. So,
Yeah.
yeah, A6, getting A6 is going to help him get over to B4 faster, I think, potentially.
Yeah. That's
So
that's a pretty good observation. And here we have Oren, and Oren have 0 coins. And not a lot of great prospects to get more coins than 0, given that
yeah,
no neighbors, weak-ish cult presence because they had to sack all of their priests and coins into ships just to be able to put down some dwellings. Uh, yeah.
yeah. This is a pretty weird it's been like so Bisago chose to use all of his early. He chose to use some early power on a priest, right? He took priest action early, and
Mhm.
then he took air 2, right? So that like he's kind of like he gave himself a priest with that air 2, let's say, right?
Right.
But then he chose to not send those priests to cults. He chose them to use them to advanced shipping, which is very coin intensive, and he hasn't been able to
Mhm.
get a coins action with his air 2. So he's like,
No.
it's like snowballed in a bad way for him in that like he's spent all of his coins. He doesn't have an easy way to get more coins because he hasn't gotten coins actions, and he's not going to get coins from the cults, which was the other big way in this game that you could have gotten an injection of coins. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And a relatively, it's kind of a coinish tight game, right? There's only the 4 coins and the 2 coins from the dwelling, and these are going to be coveted a lot, especially the 2 coins from the dwelling pass tile. So, you don't have like a 6 coins pass tile with like a few extra coins on it that's kind of like a fallback for you to fall on. So at least he's getting some leech through the center, but yeah, it's a bit grimy. And I guess his plan now for BC is kind of try to hit the pass ship VP since he invested so much resources in it. So I guess that's another avenue for scoring. But yeah,
yeah. I
it's
guess his plan here can definitely. So he's got 2 priests that he's going to want to send off, and it's looking like, and it might just have to be a really early pass for Bisagoa.
Mhm.
Because that
Yeah.
that shipping points tile is very lucrative for him, and Deepfinesse
Yep.
could also want it as well. Like Deepfinesse has a shipping, like he's kind of playing this this game that he's got workers, he's got coins, like he might be able to start passing on to VP tiles like no problem now.
Mhm.
And Bisco needs a coins action. If he doesn't pass first and doesn't get a coins action again, like that's just devastating. So like
Mhm.
yeah, I think he's got to pass early.
And look at that beautiful symbiotic relationship between mermaids and nomads. It's just ah Jesus. Like they just get so many leech off from each other. It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Nomads and mermaids, they just each have 10 more points whenever they're with together in the game, I think. And yeah,
Yeah.
as you've said, Deepfinesse, races down the A line, reaching B5, I think B4, whatever it is. And maybe Bisugoa will be happy then, right? He has at least a neighbor. and he can probably form that town
Yep.
in an easier way.
And so we see, so Deepfinesse passed up on making a second temple, which I think makes a lot of sense given that he was sitting on the trading post tile, right? So keeping that trading post up seems great. But and because of that, so he's able to get the double dig, and then this double dig is also like perfectly letting him use all of his workers to expand his economy again. So like he's gonna have a bunch of coins, right? Because he's got 2 trading posts up and a priest sitting on a cult. So he's got 6 coin income for next round. He's gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dwellings on the board after this round. So
7
workers. Gonna be up. Going into a trading post round where he'll be able to like again throw all of his trading posts on the board. Like he's going to be able to sit on basically all of his trading posts up for the rest of the game, I think, right? So he's going to be getting that, what is that, 11 coin income or whatever, and he's going to be
ready for
big lead after this round.
And he's going to be ready after this round 4. He's going to be ready for these big buildings. Maybe water one is gone, and maybe you want air one anyways in his situation. So you sanctuary for air one, you stronghold helps you get maybe your 3rd town if it's still there somehow. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it looks on track. It looks on track for Deepfinesse. Annoyingly so. But it does.
Zoros is the trading post guy. Like, how did he let him get? He let Nomads go for this good. For that many points in a trading post game. But this is a really cool game to see. Like, I think aside from like seeing the fact that it's trading post line, Deepfinesse is also like executed on it perfectly, right? Like we talked about, there was a few different ways he could have taken this, right? With like sending more priest to cults, or maybe he doesn't take that priest action. Maybe he goes, for double spading E5. Like I think he's really like played this like as perfectly as you can.
Yeah, that round 2 priest action was really, really, really good. It was really accurate. I think a lot of people wanted that priest, and he noticed that. And him having 2 priests, that's pretty good. 2 priests, 1 to cult and 1 for shipping, and the trading post, supported that shipping cost because you have plenty of coins. So yeah, things are looking pretty great.
And meanwhile, to tune into Giants game again, just kind of want to point out, like we called this at the beginning, right? Both Giants and Orin, we said we're going to have lots of problems because of where Giants chose to start, and that seems to be coming true. Like Giants, there's 3 rounds left, and Giants still need 2 bridges to form their 2 towns. They've got an awful economy going, nowhere to expand to. Nomads are snatching up their reds. Like Nomads are the ones pushing Giants around right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Like true. Nomads. If Giants get to 3 shipping, like if Giants manage to get there, Nomads can just probably at their leisure dig D6. They can just
hard dig. Yeah, just throw 3
like,
workers there. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like taking candy away from a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess Giants still have like F5 they could dig, but like this is brutally bad for Giants. They're at the mercy of everyone else. They can get bridge blocked. They can get blocked by Nomads. Pass tiles aren't working out for them. There's no stronghold pass tile in the game. They don't have an economy going. Like this is bad.
Yeah. There is some, that's for Giants, right? And for Orin, there's a bit of light at the middle of the tunnel, so to speak, because we're at the middle of the game. C4 has been granted a neighbor, so it has been allowed to be upgraded to a trading post at not too harsh of a cost. So Deepfinesse in all his grace and glory,
he's let it be.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, it's okay, Orin. You've had a tough time this game. Let me give you a little bit of a little handout, so to speak. So I guess Orin are a bit better than Giants in that regard. That's a good break for them, especially since it's a trading post round. And I think Orin have the worker firepower to just sack 6 workers into B5 and get another trading post, maybe. So yeah,
they still just don't have a great way to score though. They don't have Earth 1 or Water 1, and like you said, they have a lot of resources, but like they also have a lot to do with those resources, right? Like they need to take a lot of spades, and like
they need a bridge as well, right? Logue has just secured his first bridge, but there's 2 rounds left and there's 2 bridges to be taken. So it's always a tense moment, and Nomads might dream of bridging to G1 for a town. It's not. I don't really like it. It's not super efficient most of the times, but it can be disrupted quite easily. But maybe that's also an option for them. So yeah, bridge pressure is starting
And
to get
even
real.
mermaids. We don't
Yeah,
see mermaids on F2 yet, but mermaids like have a
true.
ton of resources. They're going to be able to build a lot of trading posts. Like if mermaids want a 3 town this game, they probably want a bridge from F2 to H2. So like, yeah,
That's
there's
true.
like up to 4 bridges that people want in this game, and only 2 left.
So yeah, that's it's that part is grim, and also you mentioned that both of the factions that desperately need bridges are the factions whose economy are kind of coins wise are kind of suffering, or who would like it to invest that economy elsewhere. You know, mentioned giants reaching 3 ships. I don't think taking two bridges and reaching 3 ships is kind of conducive one to another. You know, you got to give up one of them. I think so.
Yeah, and because these
Mm,
players like they're great, and they recognize this bridge pressure, right?
hmm.
So like we saw Logus, like he didn't wait to take that bridge. He took the bridge very early in the round, I think, with his first action, right? So it's not like you can like if you pass
Yeah.
first, it's not like you're like, oh, I'll take a coins action, and then with my next action I'll take a bridge action. No, it's gonna be gone by then.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
what you're choosing that between is like you're
Exactly.
maybe having to give up a coins action to get a bridge, which is catastrophic, right? Like you're not only it's like the
It
bridge
is.
is like 3 coins that could have been, it's 3 power that could have been coins, but then if you're also being
Mhm.
forced to lose a coins action that could have been 3 more coins,
Oh,
that's like six
yeah,
coins that you're pulling out of your game.
exactly. We often mention that, in order uh, to put down the hype a bit on the 4 coins action, some people would say that, it's only 3 coins net because you're spending 4 coins to get it. But now, if you get a bridge instead, you're losing 6 coins actually, which is almost the whole of the 7 coins action. So it's almost like it's really more gruesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So to talk about Mermaids game a bit, we haven't talked about them in a little while. I feel like we haven't talked about that much because like they're just playing a Mermaids game, right? Like this
Yeah,
is just what a Mermaids game looks like,
just
but
just mermaid. I,
it's
I guess the
executed very
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I think that that's their big firepower round. This game, they have two digs after this round because they're at step 8 of water already, and they're in a good position to just win out the water cult. Uh,
Yep.
as we mentioned, I think there might be some value in the 2 key town, given that there hasn't been a lot of interest for it for the cult presence in that game. Oren might still want it, but as we mentioned, Oren are a bit farther away from the town than mermaids are, I think, given the current state of the board. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's one
think.
of those things where it's like mermaids might not care that much about the 2 key town, but if they
Mhm.
let Orin have it, then suddenly water's a bit more contested, right? It's
Yeah,
like, it's like, oh, like water feels pretty secure unless Orin get the 2 key town, and then
right.
so it's a little bit
That's
tricky for them. But I mean, they can probably take a 1 key town too and be fine. Mermaids I think, are sitting
mhm.
in great shape here.
And I think mermaids. The fun thing with mermaids is that unlike most other factions, you can actually make 2 towns in the same round. So it's often like a cool move to take like both 8 pointers down, the single key down at once. Maybe something that might happen a bit more easily for mermaids, if they choose to because that's all they need to secure that water. They only need 2 cold steps. So if they could
Yep.
get it through both 8 pointer towns instead of having to take the 2 key town, I think it's more efficient for everyone on the table, or included.
Yeah.
I think.
And if they're able to do that, like mermaids are potentially looking at a very, very strong cult game here. Like I think there's a world where they can get like a first in 3 seconds or something on the cults, right? Like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, I
maybe
agree.
that's a little bit too ambitious, like because nomads do have 2 temples out, but like giants need their priests to go to shipping. Orin
Yeah,
still only have, I guess Orin have a decent cult, a better cult game knowing now going now that they got the second temple out, but yeah, like
I,
if they can get those extra cult steps from the towns, like they can play a very formidable cult game, which could be how like he gets his edge back on Deepfinesse.
mhm. And the only thing I kind of dislike about mermaids here is the following 2 rounds, are kind of awkward because with building all these trading posts, you're not going to be left with a lot of worker income, and so the buildings are kind of expensive worker wise. So I don't think you can get both of them down. And I think the natural thing to do would be to build out more dwellings. Um, which is kind of, and then build your big buildings in round 6. Like that's the more economic, wise approach. But that's kind of going against the track. Uh, so I think mermaids still need a sanctuary at the very least. So maybe there's only a sanctuary round 5 for everyone, and I don't think the stronghold is going to be built here for mermaids. Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, and I don't think they necessarily need the stronghold either. Like, the stronghold can be nice if you're trying to like get to 5 shipping and do stuff with that or
Right.
something. But it seems like they're going to be playing a 2 to 3 shipping game here. Like, they're sitting on the shipping points pass tile now, but they chose to invest most of their resources into building trading posts, like rightfully so, right? Like they're
Yeah,
building
that
the
makes sense.
buildings
Yeah,
economy rather than playing a pass tile kind of game.
of course. Yeah.
Um,
At least he's on it on round 4, which leaves him a chance to get it in round 6, right? And that's
yeah,
often a little thing people need to be aware of when they're playing the pastiles is you gotta plan your, if you want to jump back on the pastile, it's better to do it on even numbers. Even number also, if you do it on round 5, then you can get it back on round 6. But if you pass on it in round 5, then you don't get to do it twice. So that's a bit of a finessing with the pastiles, but it's pretty it's it's something to look out for.
yeah, and Logus had or Zorus had a bunch of resources this round, right? Like, he knew he was having a really long round, and so
Yeah.
it's really good, right, to be able to like in your longest
Stretch
round
out.
be on the pass tile you want to be on, so that you're the last one to pass, so that you can be the first one, or that pass tile can be available to you if you want to pass first for it.
Yeah, and Zoras is actually doing 2 trading posts in the center town. So maybe that tells me that he wants the sanctuary and the town ASAP, or maybe that's just because he didn't have anywhere else there to build it. I think that's probably the case. But there's this
Yeah,
option of getting a quick town with a sanctuary if he builds it and if he wants that quick town.
yeah.
But
One thing,
yeah, go ahead.
like, speaking of where he built his trading posts, so we saw him build a trading post on E4 rather than, let's say, C1. So
Right.
that to me says that Zorus is thinking about 3 towns still this game, right? I think
Yeah.
if he was only going to play a 2-town game, and those 2 towns would mean like no bridge, which is good,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of bridge pressure here. I think C1 obviously made more sense, like because like you said, I don't think he's building a stronghold next round. There's no real reason to build another temple this game. So like, how is that northwest town going to become a town if you don't put a trading post on C1? I mean, he can still build like D1 and A3, but it would have helped him to be able to be set up to form a town sooner if he just built that trading post on C1. So it's interesting. It's like, it's both keeping the option open for a town, for a third town, but also maybe making it harder to form his second town, which is a little weird.
Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting dynamic. And also, I mean, I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think the stronghold is coming down for nomads next round, possibly. And maybe Doras needs to lock in F2 rather quickly, assuming especially that I'm pretty sure he's going to dig it with his Godspade, and given that he just built a trading post in that area. But that might give him a longer round than expected, given the stronghold pressure nomad. So that might play into the whole, I'm going to try to pass as quickly as possible back on the ship Vipita that I've just left. Right. So that's an interesting dynamic to see. And I'm also curious to see where Deepfinesse chooses to build his sanctuary. Does he greed out the center one in hopes of getting E5? Or does he try to secure E5 before and then builds his sanctuary after? So yeah, I'm curious to see how these decisions are going to come down to.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because Zorus, like you said, it seems likely Zorus has these 2 end of round cult spades. Like, he'll probably use one up on either A3 or D1, right, to secure that town up there, those 4 hexes. And then he might as well use that next one in F2. And if he's doing that, that leaves E5 open. And if Deepfinesse is building a stronghold,
right, exactly,
like, E5 might just still stay open.
Which is, which is something we mentioned early on in the stream, is to what extent will Deepfinesse be allowed to have stuff in this game, have juicy, good stuff? And it seems like their answer to it is all of it. It's just everything.
Fullest extent. He's in their heads.
Yeah, he is. He is. And I think maybe that's the fault of the other players talking him up too much. Perhaps, maybe we gotta disencourage that, perhaps. But hey, I'm not in Premier League, so that's not my issue to deal with.
No, I told you my goal here is I'm trying to talk up Deepfinesse to everyone, like make everyone scared of him so they start targeting him instead of me. That's the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, but hopefully it's
we do
not
see
foiled.
Doris take E5
Hopefully it's
though.
not foiled now that. Okay. Cool. All right.
Okay,
So
so
there
the
there is
plan's
some
working. The plan's working.
yeah, there is some hope. There is some hope there. But then I mean that leaves F2 open for a stronghold attack, right? And then if F2 is open, then that third town, you need to double dig G4 for mermaids, G1, sorry, the gray, which is still might happen. But yeah, it just makes things slightly harder, I think.
I expect, I think a thing that's very reasonable that we could see from Zorus here is, maybe this is too long of a round, but we could be looking at Sanctuary on C3, build F2, and then pass, right? I think that's Zorus's ideal round next round.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And so that's pretty reasonable. He can both defend F2 and still get his Sanctuary out in the Sanctuary round, get Air 1 or even Fire 2. He might be targeting Fire 2.
And the quick pass also helps him get that extra bridge that he needs, right?
Yeah.
Which also means denying it to someone, right? Because now I think it's pretty clear that there's 3 bridges that are wanted here in this game, and there's only 2 of them left. So it's either Giants, Mermaids, or Oren will not get their dreams of having an extra town here.
Yeah, and I do wonder if Oren are on 2 shipping already, need to go to 3 to connect.
Right.
Need a bridge, so I wonder if we're going to see Oren. Well, Oren can take the bridge here now, I guess. I wonder if we're going to see Oren pass super early.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Kind of say even earlier than mermaids.
Right. Maybe, and they played before mermaids, so that definitely helps to get one more action in. Yeah. I'm pretty excited to see what's coming. I think sanctuaries are coming down for everyone this round, probably. I think nobody's gonna want to miss out on that. And now Deepfinesse is probably building his on E2, D2, D3, sorry. Because the center I think is too compromised.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It would have been cool. I wonder so it was obviously great for Zorus. I think he dug E5 last round with his power, right? And just got out an extra dwelling, which was good for his economy. But it would have been interesting to see him I don't know, maybe he could have baited Deepfinesse into committing,
right. Yeah.
You build your sanctuary first, before you have this hexer,
exactly.
Right, force him, get in Deepfinesse's head a little bit and throw it back on him and say what do you want to do first? Do you want to build your sanctuary? Do you want to build your stronghold? Where are you going to use it? I'm going to force you to commit, and then knowing that I could take it at any moment.
No, that's there's always these kind of will they won't they chicken kind of game that can go on in TM, yeah, or it's the first one who makes the move is kind of it's like a staring contest, and the first one who doesn't stare back it kind of loses. It's this tension of will they won't they, yeah. It didn't happen though. He played it the safe and secure way, which is also pretty it's pretty good. And I think if he would try to dangle this possibility, that would force him to have a longer round than what he would want, I think, because he would need to wait for Deepfinesse to kind of do what he wants to do, and Deepfinesse could make Zoras wait in return as well. So there's kind of a lot of waiting around that might have been caused by that.
Yeah.
And
so we see a few interesting decisions.
I think Giants maybe don't want a second bridge, right? I guess Giants could just town up in the south pretty easily, with an extra spade. But
yeah, they took Giants prioritized a coins action over a bridge, which to me says that they're probably planning to just make their town without a bridge. Makes sense. They've got 2 more Giants actions to use for the rest of the game, and they would need 2 to efficiently make that town without any expensive trading posts.
All right, I think I'm back. I was out a bit, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I heard a bunch of your audio all at once. You're back now. Oh, nope, now you're gone for good. Anyways, but yeah, I feel like that makes a lot of sense for Giants, but it changes the incentives for everyone else. We're back?
Yeah, I think we're back. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, so it's I was just saying, like, it's very interesting, right? So Giants prioritize the coins action over the bridge, which I think is good and right? Like they're going to be able to easily get that down anyways, I think. But suddenly that changes like everyone else's bridge pressure situation. Now Bisago can get a bridge this round, so maybe he's less incentivized to pass early, and Zoras is more incentivized to pass early, and
Right.
or like who knows how that changes how everyone's thinking about the bridge situation now? Because if Zoras ends up, or if Logus ends up passing early, he might just take the bridge. Like,
yeah, a bridge block is still in the books. It's
Yeah.
still and it's useful for him as well. So
Yeah.
So I guess nobody's
mixing-
out of the woods. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody's out of the wood yet for the bridge consideration.
Well, Bisagoa's got his bridge out.
Yeah,
He's got,
exactly. He can breathe now.
So I think he can take kind of as long as around as he needs now. Like he can build a sanctuary, he can build a stronghold, whatever he's got the resources for, right? Like, yeah, just take you around, and like it would be nice for him to pass early and get on this shipping tile and get a coins action or something. But he also needs to get his big buildings out, probably at least one of them, and so he can just safely do that now.
The sanctuary is kind of oppressively expensive for Oren. It's really. So I'm wondering if there's a way for BC to actually build a stronghold and somehow dig H5 for the town and not having to build a sanctuary altogether. Because the stronghold I think is much better than a sanctuary here in that scenario. But yeah, that didn't happen. He just built a sanctuary. Yeah. But I wonder if that would have been a possibility. With all the workers that he's getting from air, and presumably an extra 2 workers that he would have gotten if he went for the stronghold route, an extra worker, sorry, because that means that he's probably closing air with his action. So I wondered if that might have been an option to dig H5 for a town and just sanctuary on B5 for the other one.
Yeah, because that sanctuary is so expensive.
Yeah, it is. It's unreasonably so. Like, it's in the same style of punishing fakirs for, I think, the expensive stronghold. It's like, why did you do that? But but I guess maybe he can do both. Like he has 2 priests, right? So that these could be workers, and that's 4 workers and 6 coins. So that's a stronghold. So so I guess both of them are still in the books here for him.
Yep. I want to point out too, the race for Tukey is now over. Deepfinesse took it. Like the guy we weren't talking about taking it, but it's pretty good for him, right? Like it is with a lot of these priest spots locked up, right? Like so it helps him lock up Earth. Like I don't think anyone's contesting him on Earth now. The priest spots were all filled up on air, so it helps him kind of like jump up to there, even with mermaids, passing giants, and then getting an extra worker. Gets him a bunch of power on the cults, helps him pass Orin on water, helps him jump up above giants and mermaids on fire. Like suddenly Deepfinesse is now the one who could take first, second on all the cults. Like
right. In addition to having a great network and all of the other good things that he's got going for him. And he just dug B6. He just single dug B6, I think, or double dug. It was with double dig. Okay.
Oh, yep. And giants got their free shipping, and like we said, at their leisure, mermaids could nomads could just take giants out of the game.
Yep. So that was all planned, all predicted. It's sad. It's sad for giants. I guess now they have to sacrifice a dig on F5, like maybe you said, but it's still it's not as clean as just popping up straight on D6.
And they might not have that dig to spare. Like they might want those digs to carve out their town now. Like this is messy.
Yeah.
So maybe they want the bridge again now. Like maybe now that they want to dig on F5, like
I heard when you said when you said dig to spare, I heard dig despair, like the word despair, and that was oddly fitting to their situation as well. So yeah, jeez. So
right now we'll see what Giants end up doing and if they can get more stuff out, because they still do have a few natural red hexes, but this is currently one of the saddest Earth ones I've ever seen, and that I think Logus has built 2 like he took an Earth 1 in round 3 and has built 2 buildings with it, so it's like a 4 points Earth 1 over the last 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, because he wasn't allowed to jump on a natural red, so his only dwelling source was from his stronghold action, his double dig action. So yeah, that's kind of
He's
that's
gotten on
that.
one natural red hex this game, right? Through 4.5 rounds. Logus is on one natural red hex, and that's catastrophic for Giants. Like, there's another way to put it. Like, that's like rule number, I don't know, like rule number 1 of Giants is like build your stronghold first. Rule number 2 is like get on your natural red hexes as fast as you can. And yeah, okay, so we do see Logus go for F5, so he is going to get on a few more natural reds. And I think this is right. It puts it makes his town a little bit more complicated and puts things at risk there. But like with the network implications in this game, like Orin don't have a good network, so I think Giants have a lot to gain by like pushing on network, getting out dwellings with their Earth 1, putting themselves in position. Like next round is a dwelling round, so those are going to be 4-point dwellings. So like they really want to make sure they get in position to like get those extra few dwellings out. Those are potentially going to be pretty lucrative for him.
Yeah. And my dear brother is mentioning in the chat why F5 over G4, and I must agree with him. Why F5 over G4, I'm not sure, since they have 3 ships, so they can reach D7 regardless. The only argument I would see is that F5 is a bit closer to a town. But Giants aren't in the position to get a third town here in this game.
Yeah.
And now they give a neighbor to Orin as well, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
and give Nomads that extra hex.
Yeah.
As if Nomads needed more this game,
No, exactly. It's like I think people are like, Logus, he's willingly, doing his job right now. He's like, we are on the path to give Deepfinesse the game. Let's not half-ass it. Let's just go straight at it. So
I'm gonna check Venmo. Like, is there a transaction from Deepfinesse to Logus like $5? Like,
right.
for G4.
Well, I guess Giants can kind of mess with Orin, and maybe this is like the competitive aspect of like who's playing for third place here. So I guess Giants could take a bridge and dig F6 for if they have that extra dig to spare, but I don't really think that's. I think Orin can just take F6 if they want it whenever they can, probably. So
yeah.
I'm not sure how realistic the plan of cutting Orin is here. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like at very worst, it's like if Logus is thinking, all right, I've already lost to Nomads this game, right? Like Nomads are already going to beat me, so like maybe I get a couple extra points of leech from F5, right? Or building next to me, Nomads building next to me, like, and maybe that 2 or 3 extra leech that I get or whatever, like, is the 1 gold that I need to like do right, like that puts me over the top for a point, right? Like
exactly. I think that's a sound hypothesis. I think that makes sense, because you're only giving 1 leech to someone, but the return on that F5 hex is a lot greater than what you give out to the table. So the potential return at the very least, yeah. So yeah, I agree. That's a good argument for F5 over G4. Yeah.
We did see Zorus get his early pass in. I want to point that out.
So he's gonna get a few points off of that shipping thing, and we didn't see a stronghold from Nomads. So I think that really encourages Zorus to get an early pass here, because there was no threat of, he can take a bridge over to F2 without being scared of like somebody digging his X. Although in a crazy world, Giants could dig F2, but I mean, I'm just looking at the possibilities here. Giants could easily dig that, but maybe they want to, maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
It's like it's going to be this nice. There's this nice, thing Zorus has where if Zorus takes the bridge with his first action, which I fully expect him to, right? Then Logus needs to commit his dig to forming his town, right? Logus needs to use his dig like on I4, I8 or something to form his town. So like Zorus is like both bridge blocking Logus and forcing him to like not block his own town.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be good. Yeah. F2 doesn't seem to be under threat. D1 doesn't seem to be under threat. Like, it seems like Zorus is going to get 2 more towns this game. He's on the shipping, pass tile. He's going to have 3 priests in his inventory.
And
So
it looks like, you know, I4 won't be touched by giants as well, because presumably giants would rather dig I8 to get an easier town with a neighbor
yeah,
in Oren. So I think I4 would be left as a natural, and they're already, you know, sitting on 3 open blue hexes, and it's not unreasonable for them to pull out all of their dwellings. I think this next round they need 2 digs, which might be tricky, but at the very least I think they reach 13 structures, which should be able to at least secure a second place on network. Probably, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think
mermaids
like
are in
that's going
great
to be
shape. Yeah.
you know when I mentioned earlier this trading post that Zoras built on E4 and how it was going to make it trickier to form his other town. Like, I think the thing he's going to do is instead of he's just going to form like towns with lots of dwellings,
5
right?
structures. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think both of these towns are going to end up being like 2 trading posts, or a temple and a trading post, and then 3 dwellings, right? So that's gonna be how he's formed his town, and like that makes a ton of sense. Like that wasn't a thing I was thinking about, but like it's a dwelling round. He's fighting for network. Like he doesn't have
Yeah.
any other blue hexes to get to, so like he's gonna have to do digs anyways. So
Yeah.
that works out
Exactly.
perfectly. He's not gonna need fire too. It looks like.
Nope. And what we often forget that, you know, towns are not limited to 4 hexes. You know, you can sometimes when you think about planning your towns, because you usually don't think about sacrificing more than 4 hexes, because sometimes it requires too much digs, and that means that you're not shipping out to your natural colors. But sometimes it really is the best plan to just make long towns, and if you're able to do that at no cost towards efficiency regarding your expansion, especially if it's the last round and you need to dig anyways, then just keep that in mind. It's always an option. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works well for Zoras here, like for mermaids too. Like because mermaids have their their town forming ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why a lot of factions don't want to make a more than 4 hex town is just because it's hard to get 4 hexes next to each other. But mermaids
Right.
can just
Yeah.
those 4 hexes can be wherever they want, opposite sides of a river. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Definitely.
I like this town planning a lot from Zoras. He is. So you did mention the building all those trading posts is going to leave him a little worker short, and it is nice that he's gotten up to step 6 on the air cult, so he's getting 3 extra workers from that cult. But he still is maybe going to be a little short. Like it still is like if he wants to do 2 more digs and build 2 more, like if he wants to build 5 dwellings and do 2 digs and take a bridge, right, and advance his shipping to take advantage of the shipping tile, like
That's a lot of stuff.
Adds up.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be able to take some towns, but like he's burned under 6 power, so he can't afford a double dig, even if he gets lots of leech. Like, so it is going to be tricky to see like exactly what he can afford. Like, is he going to have to take worse towns to be able to afford this? How's X is going to work out?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure also. Or will he eventually sacrifice a third town, sorry, for like going ham on the ship? So all these calculations of resource management and where do you spend them and how to maximize your points. I mean that's the name of the game, right? So yeah, we'll see what decision he ends up going for. And yeah, it hurts to take a bridge also, which is kind of that comes into that bridge discussion, right? So if he commits to the bridge, then he's walking a straight and narrow path, because it's scripted, and if he isn't able to get his 3 towns, but he sacrificed the bridge, that's kind of unfavorable and yeah, that's not good. So looks like he's going for the 3 towns since the bridge is just secured right away.
Yep.
So we'll see how he navigates that. Yeah.
And Logish just throws in game chat, says, "I feel like digging that blue right now." So we'll see if like maximizing his points Logis is out to play today, or if spiteful Logis is out to play today.
Either way, I think he's going to be fine by it, right? Logis is always fine, whatever he does. So
everything's fine. It's always fine.
It's always fine. It's fine. Yeah.
But I mean,
maybe
he's gonna lots of other
ugly.
things to do this round, like to maximize his own score.
Yeah, it's ugly.
I mean,
if he digs F2, I mean, there's no way he gets his other town, right? There's no way he gets it at a reasonable cost. I mean, it's maybe still possible, but there's also just the 7 coins just sitting there, right? So, oof.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Logos doesn't have 6 power, so he can't like take a double dig action or something to get 2
Nah.
digs this round. And if I'm Logos too, like I mean, we talked before the game about how, if Deepfinesse has a high finish this game, it's probably over, right? Deepfinesse probably wins.
Right.
And so I don't know, like some meta considerations here, but if you're Logos, like you'd probably rather have Zorus win. Like if you're still angling to win the
Exactly.
Premier League, like
Exactly.
you'd rather have Zorus win and Deepfinesse finish second or third than Deepfinesse, so it feels like you're more okay with Zorus doing well than Deepfinesse doing well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's thinking about that or if he's just thinking like maybe in the grand scheme of things he's resigned himself that Deepfinesse is going to win the Premier League and he's like, all right, I'd rather beat Zorus in the Premier, like that.
Yeah.
We do see him dig I4, yeah. So he does. He does go for the blue.
Okay. So that wasn't what I expected. I figured, I8 was an easier town, but I guess what do I know?
I mean, that's huge.
That is kind of big. Yeah.
Because now I think I'm reasonably confident saying there's no way Zorus is getting to 3 structures left on his board anymore, right? He would have to do 3 digs to get there. That's not happening. I mean, I guess he could get a bunch of shipping and only do 2 digs, but I don't think he has enough to afford all that shipping either.
But I guess Nomad's always had a way to reach 15, right? With two structures on the board. I think
that's
given their resources and the absurd amount of open yellow hexes that are left to him, right?
Yes, that's true. So, but that was also that building that dwelling was going to be 4 points for Zorus, and maybe forcing Deepfinesse to use his resources. Maybe it wasn't going to be efficient for Deepfinesse to like build a temple and a trading post and dig down another dwelling, and now it's maybe he had other things to do, advancing digging, advancing shipping. True. So it was also just the threat of like forcing Deepfinesse to use his resources that way instead of a more efficient way.
Another thing I want to notice about Deepfinesse, maybe he took Temp-Ship because it was the only one left that made any sense or whatever, but it does allow him like to quickly secure his hexes. Not that they're under any threats, but I think that's kind of a cool thing, where he's sitting on 3 ships. Yeah, he can just
take G4 like right now, like as opposed to waiting and hoping that they did it.
One thing I want to talk to about is a third down in the books for Oren here, because they took Fire 2, right, instead of Air 1 or something. So they have a lot of workers. They are incredibly short on coins though. So maybe he's mathing it out right now. But I don't know if a third town is possible for Oren here. Might be. It just might be. Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff, but
1 trading post, 3 digs, and 4 dwellings. That's a lot of.
Yeah.
That's the way I would do it probably.
That is a lot of stuff though. I don't think he can have enough for that.
Nah. Maybe he gets a lot of leech, but I don't see him getting any leech, really, this round. I think just Nomads and Mermaids are going to feed each other. Giants dug away from Oren, but I mean he's still digging because it's a dwelling ground, so might as well try to reach that. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
And so I do want to point out, actually, we missed this. When Logos did that dig on that blue hex, he did it with a single spade and a 3-worker dig.
Okay.
He saved his giant action, so he's using a single spade and 3 workers to get out an extra dwelling and block Zorus from a hex.
Okay. Right.
And then make it a little cheaper to get his town, right? Because otherwise he's going to have to build an expensive trading post or Fire 2 or something. And neither of those are good. He doesn't have Water 1, and he does have Air 1, so building temples and like keeping not having to worry about buildings other than dwellings is what Logos wants to do. This. So that ends up.
So that ends up
making it's a dwelling round. He got 4 points for that dwelling. Like it has network implications. Like you can see why he did that. But what it did allow is to let Deepfinesse get the coins action in 3rd seat. So if we want to talk more about some big Deepfinesse.
The story goes on, eh? It's it's really yep. It doesn't. He's DF, and people. Well, yeah, we called it from the beginning. I think Nomad's at that price, with someone like Deepfinesse playing them. I'm not sure that the bidding was accurate there.
But I mean, it is like I don't want to call this early or anything though, because we've been talking all along about how great Deepfinesse's game is going, and
But his
Zorus,
point, yeah,
Zorus
yeah,
just doing
if,
mermaid things is like
right.
is an incredible game also, right? Zorus has played like a very precise, very good Nomads game and a very good Nomad setup or Mermaids setup.
Mhm.
He's the one sitting like he's still got 2 towns to come. Deepfinesse only has one. He's doing well in the
Right.
cults. Like Deepfinesse is also like, Deepfinesse is doing a little bit better on both cults and network, but Zorus has an extra town coming,
15
and
points.
has a
But
past.
maybe not 15, but a substantial amount of points, probably. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's true.
it's
That's
certainly
true.
not over. It's not like Deepfinesse has like a runaway point total right now.
No, definitely not.
Um,
And points wise, I think all of these players are kind of equal. Of course, post game scores and thing will change that, but yeah, we'll see. Also, there's okay. I was gonna say there's some opportunity maybe for Orin to try to steal water, but Papa Moose is having none of that. He's just straight going for the 10 spot, which is a very wise move. Yeah,
and that was actually so. Bisico did have a chance to close out water last round, so he did end up building a stronghold, and he took water
right.
2. And with that
Hmm.
water 2, he could have like used his stronghold step and his water 2 step to close out water, but he used it to close out air instead, which it gave him
Yeah.
some extra workers. But
Hmm.
like water was the one that would have been like, he could have stolen water and then
Right.
probably still won air later anyways.
Exactly.
But he chose to like win air now, and then maybe
Yeah.
was hoping to sneak out water later. But Zora saw that and wasn't having any of it. But
Nope. I
yeah, so
guess.
I mean that's like a break for Zorus, right? That he's getting those 4 extra points from water.
Yeah, and I think DF will probably likely get Earth. I mean, I don't think anyone is really threatening Earth for him.
Yep.
So DF is looking like maybe 1 first, a few second places, and maybe a third on air, depending on how things go.
Yep.
So that's close to 20 points, which is yeah, it's pretty good. And maybe Bise, thought that the extra worker was important. Granted, if we're speaking under the hypothesis that he wanted his third town, so like every little scrap of resources might come in handy when you're trying to finish a town. But we'll see if he's able to put it off. I'm still not sure, but maybe he can surprise us.
Yeah. So we do see Zorus go for fire 2. So I guess he did end up needing it after all. Maybe with that blue hex getting blocked, like there was maybe maybe part of the plan for forming that town without fire 2 involved getting that blue hex.
Right. Perhaps, yeah.
And yeah, because he didn't have a super clean way to do it. He needed a lot of digs otherwise.
So yeah, it's just unfortunate that Fire 2 doesn't really come with a lot of. Sometimes that Fire 2 can be really good, even outside of its ability, because you can net like maybe a 2 points in the Fire Cult, but here it's not really. I don't think it'll be the case.
Yeah. It is a little unfortunate Zorus had to lock up water in the way that he did. Like I think he just did it with by sending a priest as a bump, right? But like it would have been really convenient for him if he had already had his town set up.
Yeah.
Right, and if he could have taken there's still a single cult step town there. That town is really good for him right now, right? Like it's going to get him a point on fire, it's going to get him a point on air, it's going to help him on earth, and if it could have also helped him close out water, that would have just been like super lucrative. He wants to save his priests so that he can advance shipping with his leftover resources, I think.
Right.
And yeah, so like it's just like a slight inefficiency that he had to like spend a priest doing that when he could have just gotten a town to do it for him, but he was probably worried about Bisico just not. Bisico might not have a lot of resources. It's like, he could water 3.
But I think BC can only lock up either fire or water, so maybe it wasn't super clear that water was the best choice. Maybe he still wanted fire instead of water. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm totally wrong here, but I think BC had to choose between fire and water. So maybe Zoras could have taken the gamble of assuming that it's more risky, but it's more high risk, high reward. But maybe that was maybe that's one of the situations where you need to be a bit more ballsy with these kind of decisions. But yeah.
He was very few actions away from locking that up, right? Like,
Mhm.
all he needed to do was build Fire 2 and one more dwelling, right? So
One
he
more
took one
dwelling.
action to lock it up now versus
Right.
2 actions to
Shins.
lock it up, with that cult,
Exactly. And I
that
don't
cult
think
town, and
really
so like,
Visegoa doesn't want. Actually, the more I think about it, I don't think he wants to invest resources in a temple. Like he doesn't have it already. He has already a shortage of coins, and so to him, it's all the same. If he wins fire or if he wins water, he's second in the
yeah,
other one, probably. So
yeah,
I think it would have been a pretty calculated risk to go for the greedy 8 pointers down here for mermaids. Maybe, yeah.
yeah. Maybe Zoras has other plans for his towns though. Maybe he's planning to take a ship town or a coin town or something, like, so that he can have the coins for these
Yep.
ship upgrades. The ship upgrades are also really lucrative for him. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, that feels like a tiny thing where, like, I do wonder if he could have greeded that out and it might have been more points, because that 8 point town looks he didn't so yeah he did end up taking the 8 point town and kind of
Hmm.
lost a step on you know he
He
could have
lost a
used that
step and the
priest, like,
priest. Yeah, exactly. He
yeah,
lost a step and the priest, right?
he could use that priest
Mhm.
on Earth to lock up second there, or used it as a ship advance or something.
Yep, definitely. And yeah, so I thought maybe it was a ship because ship towns for mermaids here are kind of almost as much of value as the 11 pointer town, especially when you get up. When you get up these shipping, it's 4 points plus 4 points plus 3 points on the pass. So ship towns are not really weak towns for mermaids here. Uh, Granted that they don't have I don't think they have the economy to like just go up to ship 5 with only like priest and coins, right? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, ship town is it's pretty good here for them as well.
And it actually, like, an interesting thing here too, if Zoras had more priests, so Deepfinesse is at 2 shipping and has 1 priest left. He's probably going to use that priest to advance shipping one more time so that he can get out some more dwellings. So
Right,
maybe there was a world where Zoras could have used his extra priest to, like, like 2 priests to Earth, like, ties
right,
Deepfinesse on Earth, and
true.
is potentially significant there. Um,
Although I think Deepfinesse can still afford a 5 power priest if he needs
if you
to
need to, yeah.
claim back his position on Earth or any other cult that Zoras might be threatening from him.
Yeah.
Uh, for example, I think he can tie Zoras on air here with the 5 powers because looking at his resources and what he needs to do, I mean, he's only building dwellings and he has already more than enough for that. So it's either like a dig upgrade with the remaining resources with that priest maybe or
Well,
tying or
he
pinning
still has
someone.
to advance ship. He's got 1 more
Yeah.
ship advance, so that's
True. Okay. Yeah.
um,
Fair enough. Yeah.
that is going to be a little costly. But yeah, he should have some leftover stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
True.
but
I didn't notice. I thought it was on 3 already. Yeah.
yeah, the extra cult bump is, like, it's also like, Logos has an extra priest right here now, so Logos can, like, tie Zoras on Earth or tie Zoras on fire, and, like, so that can very
Yeah.
tangibly just be a point.
Hmm.
I don't know if it'll matter, but
Yeah. I think maybe Merits needed to be a bit greedier
yeah,
with that town water decision. Uh, well, sometimes playing safe is the right move. Sometimes that's uh, it's like in life. If you don't risk anything, you get the greatest returns when you play the ballsiest game. I think most of the
yeah.
times.
And
So
I'm not doing the math here or anything. This is an Abyssal stream, but I'm still not doing math. But
yeah,
I don't know, like, how these points are looking at. Like, it's it's very possible Zoras just, like, playing it safe was the right option, right? Like,
right.
if he's like, I
If
think I'm winning as long as these cults stack out and I win water like I'm supposed to.
right.
And it looks like he's going to take second in network pretty cleanly. Although I
Hmm.
guess Giants somehow did get to Giants did get to 12 structures, but I think Mermaids can get down to
Yeah,
13 structures pretty easily.
I think so
Maybe not,
too.
maybe not easily, but I think they can do it. Maybe not though. I don't know. But anyway,
Uh,
so if they can do that, uh, and so they're
the
going to take
single
second network, they're doing reasonably well in the cults.
have
They've got a
some
pass
good
tile.
pass. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Well, Giants pulled out something. I think Giants, given the circumstance, I think they have a decent-ish game. Uh, they ended up on the dwelling pass tile. Maybe they get second on network or actually 9 points. Maybe they tie with mermaids. don't think it's enough, but maybe they're not third. They're not fourth. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, it looks like he's. I don't know. It's close because Bisagawa is going to get quite a few more cult points, like a lot more cult points than Giants. But Giants do have a decent lead. They're about to pass for, 10 points, and they're going to get network points that Oren won't. I think Oren aren't getting it. Yeah, Oren aren't getting network points.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, so it's going to be close, and yeah, Logus, to his credit, I didn't love the starting locations, and he had some bad breaks from this game, but.
So looking back, would you have started D7 here with Giants instead of G2?
Yeah.
And be friendly.
Not even looking back.
Right.
This isn't even a hindsight thing. At the time,
right.
we were.
We were kind of talking about it. I guess it's kind of a gambit, and Green they don't have to accept it, but if Green accepts it and goes to E9 as well, then I think both of Oren and Giants are in a much better shape.
And even Mermaids, right? Mermaids are happier than.
Yeah, true. Although
even Nomads might be a little bit happier. Nomads would be happy that they could probably get a town in the center then.
Right. I think the points floor and ceiling of everyone just goes up, right? If Giants aren't on G2 probably, and Oren are on E9 instead. But we've seen from so many games, especially in the past year, when people got when TM became more popular, that when Mermaids start on D5, Witches or Green factions go on C4. Because when I started playing BGA like a few years back, that wasn't the case. Like this is relatively pretty new. This idea of C4. I mean, maybe it's been a year or a year and a half, but I'm talking 3 years, 4 years back when I first started playing on BGA. Green just went the usual E9 and the center one. So.
I do want to I feel like that's the thing that might have gotten brought over from Snellman. Like that was definitely the Snellman thing, is like, because seeing blue and green in a game in Snellman is like not the most uncommon thing, right? Like they play together reasonably well as far as color neighbors go. But when you're playing in that kind of situation, like Snellman is a lot about like keeping everyone else in check because you all start with the same number of points.
Right.
And so it's just assumed that I can't, like, Mermaids would run away with the game if I gave them all this territory to expand to. But in a world with auction, it's like, why does that have to be the meta? Like why do you have to do that? Like it's so risky for Green. Like you can end up with no neighbors there in the north. It can be much harder to expand. You maybe don't have good places to put the double dig early. Like,
right.
Yeah, it can be really tricky, like, to play a game as Green starting up there. And so maybe the meta should shift back a little bit to just saying like, sure, Mermaids have a good game, have the north. Like I'll find some other way to get points. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of things that it can be attributed to like some kind of a trending phenomenon where something is trending at the current moment and like everyone is playing that, and this is it's like the discussion with like the coin towns, and like I think when it first came out, everyone, myself included, I was like, oh, when Rainier brought it down a bit. It's like, it's true that it's inefficient sometimes given a certain game plan. I'm not saying he always hates on it. That's not what I'm saying. But then during that time when the information became popular, I think a lot of, if we put up the statistics of the coin towns being taken, I think they just went down a lot. And then now again, I think people are starting to, come down from this high, so to speak, and realizing that, sometimes the coin town is efficient and is the right pick. So I think these are the kind of trends that kind of go up and down, just like fashion or anything else in life, probably. So
yeah.
And we have Giants already passing. So Giants already at 106. I think BC is close to passing as well. He's gonna score a few points from that trading post. I'm thinking he's 1 power short from another trading post.
Yeah, it would have been a great trading post for him. Would have been a 5-point trading post.
That's sad. 1 power short, not even 1 coin short.
Yeah. We see Zorus going down the line. If he took a ship town rather than, I don't know, like I think maybe a power town or a priest town or something might have like given him the worker. There might have been some line where he could have dug down another dwelling, but in this case, I think just advancing shipping is pretty lucrative for him, right? It's 4 points for the shipping and 3 points on the tile. So he's now tied with Giants on network. So Deepfinesse wins network by 3 structures.
9
just
points.
an absolute blowout.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty. That's unfortunate for the competition between Zoras and Deepfinesse here.
Yeah.
That Giants are able to snag that extra point.
Yeah. And so that play from Logus, right, to snag that blue hex away from Zoras ended up being pretty significant, right?
Yeah,
He snagged the blue hex
clearly.
away, and then and that meant that he was able, yeah. So he got an extra hex, and Zoras had one fewer hex, and so that's pretty big for him.
And yeah, Deepfinesse did end up doing a 5-power priest to tie Zoras in air. So
no, he actually he never
no?
advanced to 3 shipping, I think, because he didn't need to. Oh no, he did. He did.
No, he's
Okay.
he's at 4 ship now because he's sitting on the
Okay.
10 ship pastile. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's always fun seeing 4 ship for a faction that isn't mermaids.
Yeah. And there was there was something else I was going to point out. Oh yeah, so Zoras at the end there was forced to take a ship town rather than a coin town. The coin town is like two coins more, and 1 point more if you had that priest. Remember that priest he bumped to water? So like that's a couple points there.
Yep. True.
So Deepfinesse ends up winning by 10, so a couple points, wasn't the difference, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was Zoras had like a lot of like interesting lines to try to figure out there at the end how he was going to maximize his resources. But yeah, super well done to Deepfinesse. He started with a great auction. I think he played the auction well, got a great deal in my opinion. Played a really cool opening, right? It's like it's definitely a bit ballsy to go for the trading post open, right? Not everyone thinks of it like it's not everyone knows how to play it because like you don't see it very
tricky.
often. You don't see other players play it that often, so it's tricky to know how to play it yourself. And then executed on it perfectly, I think, right? This is just a masterclass of the game. Still got 2 towns, did well in the cults, smashed network, didn't even get a pass tile on the last round, didn't even matter, right? Like normally that could be a game swinging kind of thing to be the only person to not get on a pass tile in the last round, but he didn't get on a pass tile in the last round and still won by 10 points, like 15
and actually
structures. Awesome.
that 10 points, we were speaking, I think if I recall correctly, Nomads started at 22 and Mermaids at 14. And so that's an 8-point difference in the auction. And we were kind of, affirming and saying that Mermaids and Nomads are kind of equivalent points-wise and in their potential towards scoring in this game. So, when you factor in that auction imbalance that as we perceived it, it's easier to say in hindsight, obviously, than when you're bidding on the factions. But, bring down Deepfinesse 8 points. It's pretty... yeah, it's pretty good. So I think we have Deepfinesse. Hey,
Deepfinesse, how's it going? Congrats.
Thanks.
Absolutely dominant run through here.
That was a great game. Wow.
To put this in the context a bit, you've played 3 Premier League games this season. Coming off your win, you've played 3 Premier League games, and you've got a first, a tied for first, and another first. So huge congrats on just an awesome run and on this specific game.
Yeah, clearly.
Although I was looking at the games earlier the other day, and it looked like, I almost forgot that you're 1 point behind and 2 point behind in a couple of these games. in a couple of games.
This close. So, I'm coming for you next game. You're not going to get the clean sweep.
I'm gonna make a terrible mistake and leave destroy my time at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, I took that away from you in the last one too. That's right. What were you thinking about? What were you thinking in the auction this game? To spoil it, we kind of had Nomads like being a lot better than they were valued in the auction. How were you feeling? Like, did you feel like you got a deal here?
I'm not sure. I think the Nomads were always going to open temple trading post. We're always going to open 3 trading post. So I feel like the 3 trading post opening is just kind of hard to evaluate. And is it 15 points? Is it 25 points? It's just kind of hard to tell. I thought it was a bit higher because it was a pretty point short game. But there are a couple of things that could go wrong, like if Orin take Priest and go first move Priest to air, so Nomads don't get a single dig. That would be pretty bad for the trading post opening. A couple of the Giants' decisions worked out very well for me, and I got all the hexes I wanted. So it's I think it's fair. I think it's a fair price. I don't think they were I don't think 22 was an overwhelming amount.
Interesting. I think me and Eric were kind of hyping Nomads up because we thought that there were more than one option with the openings and how the game could have gone. Like 3TP is always nice and spicy, but as you said, it's a high risk, high reward because you're kind of obligated to get all your workers' economy really rolling quickly, which you were able to do. Rounds 2 and 3, you invested all your workers into dwellings, and so that was really optimal. But you didn't consider any other openings with nomads here. It didn't really
No,
cross
I
your mind.
think like with the coin short thing, and then we have the tempos coming around 3. It just felt
Right.
pretty natural to go for this line. But even like in the actual like the way the bonus house broke, like if Pisagol went code step first move, then that means Pisagol gets to go dig if he wants it, and like the trading post, and you already land on the trading post scoring tile. So like, what do? Do you still go for the 3 trading posts without a dwelling? It's hard to say. I think it's fair. I think it's maybe Orange went for a little. Orange probably went a little too early. I did not see a game plan with them. I just put them in, but I was like, I can't play that.
Have you ever thrown in anything other than Orin when given the chance in these Premier League games?
Yeah, sometimes I put in halflings. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, you did that last game.
Or trying to go for the triple repeat of nomads, mermaids, orange, and I think halflings. I think that was it'd be a triple repeat if we got that. But
yeah, Danny pointed that out. That we love
something.
doing that in Premier League for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but this color wheel happened a lot in this season 2.
Zoris basically played the exact same strategy, right? Like mid game 4 trading post, and then score a bunch off the trading post tiles. Although he scored with favorite house this time instead of because the track wasn't that favorable.
Yep. Yeah, Jesus, that was a really good game. I'm not sure I have a lot of questions. I think everything that you did was like super clear and pretty accurate. So I don't not sure if Eric, if you have any more questions for DF here.
No, I think we'll keep this short. Yeah, it was an awesomely played game. Yeah, congrats on the win, and congrats on. I mean, at this point, you've all but. I mean, if not mathematically, you've probably locked up the Premier League. So, congrats on the back-to-back wins. That's awesome. But I'll see you next week. I'll see you next week to prevent you from taking that clean sweep of firsts.
Yeah, maybe it will be actually the last game of the first season. DF ended up winning, and you won the last game too, right, Eric? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see a repeat of the and we'll get the same 2 winners interview that we got.
Oh, yeah. You
last
casted
time.
that game, right?
Yeah, I did.
But it was only because Deepfinesse screwed up, so he had to hand it to me.
Exactly. It's fine. We all need a little help sometimes. Even Deepfinesse sometimes, right? So, yep.
All right. Yeah. Well, congrats. See you next week.